What's going on, y'all? 5 Sports Talk back at it with another video talking some NFL, talking fantasy football because it is finally that time of year, my favorite time of the year, and I'm here to bring you guys some good info in terms of sleepers for fantasy football. And I'm going to be starting my part 1 of this series in which I give you guys my sleepers for every single position in fantasy football, offense only as well. Of course, I don't usually play any defensive positions in fantasy football, but if you do that, is fine. But with that being said, this is only talking about offense, and we're going to be starting with receivers. But real quick, before we get into that, of course, what do I mean by sleeper? By sleeper, I mean guys usually under the radar that people are not really paying attention to. Of course, everybody knows the Antonio Browns, the Julio Jones, the Odell Beckham Jr.'s, and those guys are studs, and respectively so, and deservedly so. But we're talking about guys that a lot of people aren't paying attention to, that are falling a lot lower in drafts than they should be getting drafted. They're falling and people aren't paying attention to them, and hopefully you're going to be able to grab them before anybody else does, and they're going to outperform their stock. That's basically what I mean by sleeper, is they're going to outperform where you get them in the draft. So these guys are mostly later round values because everybody knows the studs, as we know too well. So with that being said, let's get started. One more quick point of note. This is going to be a top 5 list, but it is kind of not in any particular order. I'm not ranking them, but I will say who I like better or who I like worse. And in terms of PPR, non-PPR leagues, I'll try to be as clear as possible for that as well. But most of these guys apply to all different types of leagues as well. So with that being said, let's get started. Let's start with probably my favorite sleeper wide receiver. And I know I said it wouldn't be in any order, but with that being said, I love this guy, and I'm talking about none other than Eric Decker of the now Tennessee Titans, as he signed with them this season. And this was a late free agent signing that a lot of people did not pay attention to, and it kind of flew under the radar, and that's what I look for when I look at these sleepers. But make no mistake about it, Eric Decker is going to be an integral part of this Tennessee Titans offense. I expect a big year out of Marcus Mariota, who is also one of my favorite quarterbacks. Hint, hint, for that segment. Look out for that. But with that being said, Eric Decker, love him this year. Currently, he's going like in the 8th round, 9th round, 10th round, around there. I think this guy is going to be putting up wide receiver 2/wide receiver 1 borderline numbers. And the reason I say that is because, yes, I know the Tennessee Titans depth chart at receiver is pretty stacked. They've got Corey Davis, the number 5 overall pick that they took this year. He's expected to play a big part of the offense. You got Rashard Matthews, who had a breakout year last year. Of course, you have a veteran, Delaney Walker. You got, of course, the guys like Tajay Sharp and Tywan Taylor. So a lot of depth at receiver. But the thing with Eric Deckers I love is he has shown that he is not built just based off the quarterback. He played with Ryan Fitzpatrick 2 years ago. Last year he was hurt, so a lot of people forgot that Eric Decker was hurt, and he kind of flew off the radar. But with Ryan Fitzpatrick the year before, what did he have right here? 80 catches for 1,027 yards and 12 touchdowns is what I love. Marcus Mariota is a magician in the red zone, and he's going to be looking at Eric Decker, who is a big red zone threat, and that is the best part about Decker that I love, is the touchdown upside. I think outside of Delaney Walker, he's probably going to be Mariota's favorite target in the red zone, and I trust him. I trust Eric Decker. I think the staff trusts Eric Decker, and I expect a big year out of him. I think he's going to be one of the best red zone threats in the NFL, and Marcus Mariota, who's good in the red zone, is going to help in that category as well. So I love Eric Decker. I think he is currently getting drafted below where he should be. Of course, his stock is rising, so you guys better pounce on it before, it keeps rising. But I love Eric Decker. My next sleeper wide receiver is Robbie Anderson from the New York Jets. This was a guy who was buried on the depth chart last year for the Jets, behind Brandon Marshall, behind Eric Decker, behind Quincy Enunwa. And he finally had a chance to play at the end of the season last year, and he was able to put up something like above 500 yards. I have it in front of me right here. He was able to put up 42 catches for 587 yards, which was impressive in the limited amount of action that he got, and he has proven to be a deep ball threat. Now, of course, the Jets' quarterback situation is god-awful, okay? They're going to be probably the worst team in the NFL. But the thing with Robbie Anderson, we love in fantasy football, volume. He's going to be getting all the targets. Quincy Nunn was out for the year with the neck injury. He is the #1 receiver on their depth chart. I don't see anybody else competing with him. Of course, there's going to be, guys that will switch off as well, but I think Robbie Anderson is going to be the constant in the passing attack for the New York Jets. And because of that potential he flashed last year, I love him this year. It doesn't matter if it's Josh McCown, Christian Hackenberg, or Bryce Petty. I could care less. The amount of volume that Robbie Anderson is going to get makes him a steal at the position he's being drafted right now. I actually haven't been able to even find his average draft value. I think he is going way under the radar. This is a guy who I think can provide wide receiver 3 numbers, potentially wide receiver 2, although I'm not going to go there yet, but I will say wide receiver 3 numbers for sure. Love Robbie Anderson. Draft him on your team. My next favorite receivers, and the reason I'm saying receivers is because it is actually a duo from a team, so it looks like I might be cheating here a little bit, but I'm really not. I'll explain why. I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills duo of Zay Jones and Anquan Boldin, okay? The reason I threw in Anquan Boldin, because it was initially just Zay Jones, who I loved, is because Boldin signed with the Bills a little later recently, and he was a surprise in Detroit last year. He had 8 touchdowns. I believe he led the team. He had 15 red zone targets, which was the second most in the NFL, so you gotta love that. And so I'm kind of lumping him here with Zay Jones because I love Zay Jones out of East Carolina. This is a guy who was drafted in the 2nd round by the Buffalo Bills. I liked him before the Sammy Watkins trade, so think about how much I like him now. A speedy receiver. I think he's got all the tools of a #1. Now, of course, I don't love the fact that he's going to be thrown in as a #1 receiver, but the Bills did acquire Jordan Matthews. He's going through some injury issues right now, but it's not expected to be serious. But as long as Jordan Matthews is able to be healthy, at least that provides another threat. But of course, I would have loved Zay Jones regardless with the volume that he's about to get, and that is really what this pick is about. It's about volume for Zay Jones, who I think is going to be an integral part of this Bills passing attack, if you want to call it a passing attack. I mean, I'm not the biggest Tyrod Taylor fan, but he's not that bad, okay? And he's going to get the ball out. Like I said, Sammy Watkins was able to produce with this guy. He had 1,000 yards when Sammy Watkins was healthy. Zay Jones, I think he's going to be a stud. A lot of people don't know about him because he's a rookie, but he is probably #1 or 2 at worst on the Buffalo Bills depth chart. If Jordan Matthews is out, he's #1 receiver on their depth chart. Anquan Boldin is a guy who I think can get some red zone threats. He can do what he did for the Lions last year, although, of course, I would not draft him nearly anywhere near where I would draft Zay Jones. But with that being said, just wanted to throw that in there. Do like Boldin as well, but Zay Jones is my guy. My next sleeper is a deep sleeper, guys. And when I say deep, I mean deep. I'm talking about the Detroit Lions rookie receiver, Kenny Golladay. Was a 3rd round draft pick in the 3rd round out of NIU. He was a transfer, I believe, and had 2 monster seasons at NIU, and he's another rookie receiver. We love that because those guys fly under the radar. But this guy is a big-bodied receiver, 6'4", 213. He can not just catch the ball in terms of having good hands. He can go and get the ball. I don't want to throw it out there, but of course, the former Detroit Lion who just retired, Calvin Johnson, that big play ability of going and getting the ball and making a play on it. I see that from this kid and Kenny Golladay. I love him a lot. Now, in terms of draft position, look, he's going to be behind in the depth chart behind Golden Tate and Marvin Jones and possibly maybe even Eric Ebron. But he's a 3rd receiver as of now with only upside to move up. So this is a guy I draft at the very end and keep him stashed on my roster because I feel like in a couple weeks it takes one injury to one of those guys with Tate and Marvin Jones for Golladay to jump up the depth chart and make an impact. I can already see him catching a bunch of red zone passes from Matthew Stafford, and the red zone is where the Lions struggle. That's why they drafted this guy. He is going to be a beast in the red zone. I feel like Matt Stafford's going to look his way because he's a big body target. You know Eric Ebron can't catch. He's got stone hands. Golden Tate is too small. Marvin Jones is not big enough. So I love this kid, Kenny Golladay. I think he's going to have a great season. Probably not at the beginning, but as the season progresses and he gets more experience, I like him. Deep sleeper to stash away. So I'm a big fan of him. Make sure you guys hop on this train before it takes off. So I love Kenny Golladay is my next deep sleeper. And finally, my last wide receiver sleeper is Jamison Crowder of the Washington Redskins. Now, I understand Terrell Pryor is there, and he's probably going to be their number one receiver, but they did lose Deshaun Jackson, and they did lose Pierre Garçon in free agency. Jordan Reed is still banged up, okay? I don't know about his health. He seems to get hurt every season. When he's healthy, he's a top 5 tight end for sure. I will give you that. But he doesn't seem to always stay healthy, and Jamison Crowder is consistent, guys. I like him in terms of his consistency, and he's going to be playing outside as well as the slot this season, so I like that. You have to like that. Kirk Cousins is another contract year because the Redskins just don't want to extend him. That's another story for another day. But I just like Jamison Crowder for 2 reasons. Bigger role, and I also feel like he's going undervalued because a lot of people don't pay attention to the Redskins and haven't paid attention to the fantasy losses. They see Terrell Pryor. I think Terrell Pryor is going to be the guy people draft from the Redskins, but I think the hype for Terrell Pryor is a lot more than what his reality is going to be. I don't know if he can match that hype that he had coming into the season from the Cleveland Browns. I think Jamison Crowder is a safe bet. You can probably get him in the later rounds, probably really late, and you can be happy with that. So I like Jamison Crowder as a deep sleeper. So there you have it, folks, my top 5 fantasy wide receiver sleepers. Let me know if you guys agree, disagree. Leave a comment down below, and if you want to add to the list, leave that down below as well. Ask me questions, hit me up on Twitter, follow me on there, link in the description for that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.